Hi, everybody. Oh, you have no idea how much I miss seeing all of you. I miss going out to the playground. I miss walking into your classrooms. I miss seeing you in the multi-purpose room during lunches and our rainy day recesses. So, since I can't be with you, I decided I wanted to read you a story. Now, this is a true story. It's a story I wrote about something that really happened to my child when my child was about 9 or 10 years old, I think. So I wrote this story a long time ago because my child is now grown up, but I wanted to share it with you. Oh, and there are no pictures that go with the story, so you're going to have to use your imagination. So use your imagination to pretend that the person telling you this story is just like you, a child who had an experience that was very important to that child. So, without any further, oh, and did I mention there's no pictures? Yeah. And did I mention that it's written like a poem? Now, you've had stories written in the poem format before. You've heard Cat in the Hat, or you've heard, Green Eggs and Ham. So it's kind of like that. So let your imaginations come with me to a magical time that really happened, to a wonderful place that really exists. So here we go. The tops of the tall pines seem to live in the clouds. The redwood pillars stand tall to the sky. Gingerbread houses side by side in a row, with fairy tale people living inside. This house has a garden with flowers and jade and a white picket fence all around. The street leads and winds to the sea down below, where seashells and starfish are found. The town near this house is full of fine shops with an abundance of treasures to see. The things that have traveled from all over the world seem to be there just waiting for me. And another town not too far away is an aquarium where I can go to see the exhibits of otters and fish, all offering me a show. There's fog in the morning at this place by the sea. There's sun in the afternoon. The nighttime shares a million bright stars and the light of a beautiful moon. The house where I stay was once the fine home of a lady related to me. She lived there alone, except for her pets, in this fine cottage by the sea. She possessed many treasures displayed on glass shelves that looked like they floated on air. Delicate creatures crafted of glass, each requiring the finest of care. The lady had journeyed to faraway lands, and she brought back a book from each. Leather-bound journals placed high on bookshelves, far beyond my curious reach. The kitchen still carries a hint from the stove that cooked many meals for one, and a small wire rack where dishes were placed to dry by the warmth of the sun. The lady crocheted from skeins of fine yarn afghans for families and friends. Each was crocheted with love in her heart, a love that will never end. Of family and others, scrapbooks were kept that she placed by the side of her chair. Newspaper clippings and old photographs kept her close to those whom she cared. This lady that lived in this house by the sea passed away before I was alive. Yet so much remains of the woman's fine love that the essence of her still survives. This cottage is where my family and I vacationed a few times a year. The rest of the time I live in a house in a city quite a distance from here. We travel for hours to get to this cottage, sleeping most all of the way. We always arrive in the darkest of night, but arise with the first light of day. Each time I've come is always the same as each time that I've come before. This house seems to wait in some timeless way to welcome me back once more. But this visit was different than visits before, in a way often found in a dream. This was the visit I discovered the truth that things may not be what they seem. Next door to this house lives an elderly woman, and she lives in this cottage alone. She keeps to herself, never seeming to stray from the walls of her dreary, dark home. Her house is alike the house where I stay, and their shape and their size are the same. She too has a garden with flowers and jade, and a small sign that bears her strange name. There's a driveway that divides her cottage from mine that leads to the backyards below. And standing out back, I can see all the yards of the houses built on this row. This neighbor's black cat keeps post on the porch, napping the long days away. The cat seems well fed and must be content, for I've never known it to stray. The next door lady was born far away on the other side of the sea. She traveled alone on a slow-moving ship in search of a place to live free. She peers through her window, never saying a word. Her cold eyes just don't seem to care. I begin to suspect she might be a witch. The thought makes me shiver and scared. I imagine an oven where children are cooked like a story that I've heard once before. I picture dark rooms draped in gray spider webs stretching from ceiling to floor. Her basement is where the potions are brewed, her attic a home for the bats. She speaks not a word to one living soul, except for her loyal black cat. Well, these are the thoughts that race through my mind of the woman who lives next door. And stories are told by those who have met her that frighten me even more. I keep to myself, never taunting this neighbor. I don't want her coming outside. When strolling out back, I quickly pass by, holding my breath deep inside. On the day that this happened, I was sitting out back enjoying a late autumn breeze. Without an announcement, a shadow appeared, covering the shadow of me. I turned without thinking to see who was there, casting her shadow on me, and there stood the woman from the cottage next door, whispering, "Come, child, come quickly and see." With fear in my heart, I reluctantly followed as she faintly said, "Stand over here." She lifted one arm and extended a finger to point out the beautiful deer. In the yard next to hers stood this wonderful creature that came from the forest to graze. The woman said softly, "Shh, don't make a sound. We don't wish to scare it away." In the turn of a breeze, the deer caught our scent, then bolted and vanished from view. I noticed my fear of this woman was gone as she asked, "Tell me, child, who are you?" She spoke with an accent from some distant land. Then she shared many stories with me. We spoke of the deer and the sea down below, and talked of the beautiful trees. I realized at once there were no bats in her attic or scary things in her home. She was not a witch lurking in darkness, just an old woman living alone. Her house has a garden with flowers and jade and a white picket fence all around. This cottage is special because it is a place where a very good friend can be found. So, boys and girls, that's the story. It's true. I hope you enjoyed hearing it as much as I enjoyed writing it so many years ago. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed sharing this memory with you. boys and girls, have a very, very good rest of your day. Go give your parents a hug. Tell them that you love them. And I'll see you soon. We will be back together. You take care. That means I love you in sign language.